Are you spinning through life day after day, week after week? Or are you actively designing your dream life? And if so, what does that look like? Have you ever thought about what it takes to achieve that dream? What are the habits that you need to create to make that dream life possible? For Dante Jackson, creating a lifestyle of good habits has already given him just that. So much so that he spends all his free time sharing this same ideas with others. Teaching spin classes and coaching gym members, Dante preaches how not just to live a longer life, but a more meaningful one. Although his healthy habits may seem a little extreme to you and me, these habits have created a fulfilling lifestyle and a chiseled physique that clearly reflects his level of discipline. Dante will be the first to tell you that abs are made in the kitchen, and having a disciplined attitude towards nutrition and exercise will lead to the results that so many of us are looking for. And along the way, this health guru will also teach us about cybersecurity and how to protect yourself from the ever-growing issues of online terrorism and malware. You won't learn much about his job, and I can't tell you who he works for, but there's a reason why he has no social media presence. My conversations with Dante has made me take a hard look at how I handle my Wi-Fi and internet security. So stay tuned and learn how to eat right, protect your online information, and spin your way to success, all in my most recent conversation with Dante Jackson. How was class?
It was great.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
You still got a full house over there?
Yeah, in the wintertime, that's when it gets really crazy. I mean, right now we're in that kind of where people are kind of like, there's still some empty.
Well, because any day that you can ride outside, you're gonna have fewer numbers.
And that's when it gets crazy, when the outside riders come in.
They
all show up. You know?
Guys like me, they come in and there's like all their gear and all their crap and just take over.
Yeah. Do you ride outside? Do you have
I try to.
Do you ride with a group or by yourself?
I'm almost always by myself because I'm almost exclusively on a tri bike. I have a road bike, but I always, because for the races, I want to race on my tri bike, so I want to train in what I race in.
Sure.
So that's what I use. And when you're in a big group, they don't like for you to ride the tri bikes because they don't have any brakes.
Okay.
Because when you're down, like, the brakes are out here, and you can shift gears when you're here, but you can't brake. So if you're tucked in a group and you got to lock them up quick, it's a pain. It can be a little hairy.
Okay.
So. And quite frankly, I mean, I'm not a very confident rider anyway. My brother rides out in Colorado, and I mean, those guys are just locked in. They're so good. They're so stable and sturdy, and just, I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm wibbly wobbly. And
I get nervous I've been invited to ride outside, and I'm just people just don't drive well here, And then you hear stories about people getting hit, and I'm just like,
And it happens all the time, man. But I tell you what I do, and what we're blessed for living where I live. You're out there in the cow pastures, man. Like, I see more cows than I do cars on the routes that I take.
Wow.
So it's nice.
Nice.
So out there, you feel, well, number one, I can be all over the road, not have to worry about run anybody. But two, you get that isolation effect, and you feel like you're totally.
But that's the best feeling.
Oh, it's the best. That's honestly what I do it for, especially this time of year when it's a little bit cooler in the morning. It's not unbearably hot, and you kind of got the mist out over all those fields and everything, and it's just like the barn and the pasture and the woods, and it's just so picturesque, man. I just love it.
Nice.
Anyway, let's get rolling, man.
All right, man.
This is the Extraordinary Podcast, and my guest today is Dante Jackson.
Good morning. How's it going, man? Good, brother.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, man. Yeah. It's coming straight out of spin class, right?
Yeah, you just got done with a run, so this is like, we're both sitting here sweating, ready to go.
Yeah, we both barely had time to clean up. So we're not going to do this one on video, so we're both a little rougher on the edges this morning coming off of workouts. But that's actually, let's talk about, that's kind of how we first met, was over at the gym. You're the man when it comes to spin instructors over there. So how did you get started into all that?
Well, I don't know about that. It probably depends on who you ask, but I appreciate it. So I started at LA Fitness just taking class, right? So I was just a student going to the morning class before work, and we lost our primary instructor. And she was really good. There wasn't a lot of good spin instructors there. And they started sending subs there, and they weren't really good. And I said, I think I can do this. We'll see. I went
How
home.
hard can it be,
Oh,
right?
yeah, right. So, the first
Little did you know.
Yeah, the first classes were terrible, so I went in there and started studying, trying to figure out what was going on and watching YouTube videos. And I went to classes all over the city, LA fitness classes, taking different classes, seeing how different instructors taught their class, and really just self-taught myself. They give a little bit of training there at LA Fitness.
Right, yeah, I went through that certification classes with them as well.
Yeah, so, did that and, just jumped on the bike and didn't look back, and luckily I had a good class. They were patient with me. And
so let me ask you, what was the hardest part about jumping into doing that?
The most difficult part is not making it where it's not stale. You know what I mean? So
keeping it fresh.
Yeah. Because if you go to a cycle class, you'll notice some instructors, they do the same ride every week. They play the same music every week, and that's where I wanted my class to be different. I wanted people going to say, "Listen, I don't know what I'm going to get when I come in there next week or Thursday or Saturday. I teach on Thursdays and Saturdays, so I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know what music is going to play. I don't know what we're going to do. And a lot of times I don't know. We just figure it out as we go along. But
and what I like about your classes too is there's always that little extra bit of motivation thing that you'll throw in there too that none of the other instructors do. That was one of the things that always appealed to me about you and your classes. There was always that extra little challenge that you were going to throw out there, that extra little gauntlet for the next week, to work on.
Yeah, and also just giving people the drive to come back, because some people come and like, oh, this isn't for me, and that's fine because it's not for everybody. I tell the class, hey, this isn't for everybody. It's an advanced class. We go really, really hard here. We're really serious, but we have fun. But you want to just throw some stuff out there and see if it catches people. You know what I mean? Like if it's a quote, if it's a ride, if it's the music. You want to find out what's going to keep people coming back, and because the fuller the class, the better, right? Now with Peloton and some of these other bikes that you have out there, people can cycle. You can get on a bike at home.
You don't have to
go
to a class anymore.
No, but you want people to be like, hey, I want to go to class. I want to feel the energy. I like the instructor. I like the people. I'll try to make it a family environment.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of has always been the appeal to me about the spin classes in general, and especially yours, is that group dynamic. And I think that even with Peloton and some of those other programs where it's a virtual program, you get a little bit of that sense of feel of it, but nothing like what you do in class when you're out there and you get the thing pumping and you're pumping everybody up and everybody's just in their groove. They're just jamming, and it's fun to watch people step it up.
Oh, it is.
It's fun to watch them just kind of like engaged, they just lock it down.
Oh, and it's fun to see people come in. Maybe they'll come in the week before and they're not as motivated, or because, sometimes you come in there, you just don't have it. And then they come in the next week and they're just locked in, and then you see the progression of if they're losing weight, if they're getting stronger, whatever their goals are. I tell everyone when they come to class, if you're serious about cycle, have a goal. Don't just come in there just to ride. Hey, I want to lose weight. I want to get stronger. I want to get more endurance. I want to do these things. Have that challenge. Set challenges within challenges. I set the challenges for the class, but have your own.
Yeah.
And it just makes for like a better experience.
Absolutely. Well, and it's got to be fun for you to watch people progress.
Oh, yeah.
And watch them grow and kind of come into their own and watching them, because just like everything in life, and it was true with me with this podcast, like you're taking these little bitty steps and you just keep showing up and you just keep going through the motions. And like you said, there's some days, man, where it's just not clicking and nothing's working and you just don't want to be there. But then once you keep at it and once you keep doing it, then you get these little fast forward button moments where like things just speed up and everything just falls into place. And next thing you know, man, you're walking on water. You feel like you can do anything. And when you have those moments, they're so rewarding, and it's so cool to see other people sharing that experience for sure.
No, for sure. I agree. And just seeing people, the progression, seeing people come in and when they first start and they can barely keep up, and then just seeing them grow, and then, they're keeping up for 30 minutes. Next thing you know, it's 45 minutes, and then you're just watching like, man, you're really getting good at this.
So what was your introduction into fitness in general? Because clearly you were into fitness and all that before cycling became such a big part of became a spin instructor specifically. What was your kind of introduction into fitness as a whole?
Playing sports, growing up playing sports.
What sports did you
in middle
play?
school, played baseball. In high school, basketball, ran track. And really it was my dad. My dad was into fitness in the 80s. This is before fitness was really a big thing, right?
Yeah, let's talk about that. It was multifaceted, his role with fitness. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, correct. So he not only lived and trained, but he also was a chef. So he prepared meals. And this is before, today's age, you get on the internet, you order a meal, it comes to your
It's
front
a dime
door.
a dozen.
Yeah,
Back then, nobody
was doing that back then.
No,
So
you didn't hear about that.
No, so my dad was the guy for lunch. He was making potatoes, like taking potatoes and sweet potatoes and baked chicken, and like that's what we were eating, for dinner, and whereas everyone else was eating whatever.
Kind of like food. Bruce Lee when he was first making those protein shakes, like with the raw fish and the eggs, and everything, like just concocting your own mixtures of healthy ingredients.
It's so true. It's a lifestyle. It really is, and I mean, you carry those habits with you.
What a cool thing to be exposed to as a young boy for you. That's great.
Yeah, very much. And
you probably hated it though.
But you get used to it, and now I don't.
Now you appreciate it.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, fast food, I just don't eat it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Processed meat, I just don't eat it. And it's because
and you don't, and more importantly, you don't have a taste for it.
Correct.
Like you've never developed that. Like, unfortunately for me, that hankering that you get every once in a while for that just garbage food.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, like I tell people, hey, enjoy yourself if you have a cheat day or a cheat day in the month, or, hey, you want Chick-fil-A today. I mean, you earn it, you go and you eat it.
But how nice is it to not have that craving, though, all the time? Like, having been brought up to never have to, I don't know, like, to not have to want to crave that, I guess. Or I don't know the right way to say that. I'm kind of butchering it, but
no, it's true. I mean, it's just you just don't have the inclination, the cravings to want to eat that stuff. You just don't. Great. I mean, and it's very addictive, right? So I mean, you see the kids and parents feeding their kids the food, and I mean, your body craves it. It releases endorphins. It makes you feel good. I mean, the sugar, all that, and you want it. It's like a drug. So it takes a while to get off of it.
So how hard was it for you when you first left for school and kind of got out there on your own? Developing those good eating habits on your own. You're the bachelor guy. Being the single guy lifestyle is certainly not necessarily conducive to a healthy eating lifestyle. Was that a tough transition for you?
Oh, it was a disaster.
I mean, that makes you feel better.
I mean, in college,
So you are human.
like in college, I mean, the Wendy's drive-through lady knew me. I mean, every day after work, it's like, hey, burger with no onions, fries, and you look back and you're like, man, the human body is really something special.
It's resilient, right? It's amazing what we can put it through.
Because if you think about the stuff you've eaten and like how you still are here and surviving. I mean, I think about my college days and just the crazy. Drinking, the eating. I mean, it's just like, man, like I'm still standing. It's impressive.
Our bodies are beautiful instruments, man.
They are
amazing what they can. Well, what we put them through, the abuse that they take.
It's true.
We've talked some about the cycling and stuff, but let's talk about what you do when you're not out there exercising in the real world. You work in cybersecurity.
I do. So I do cybersecurity. Make sure you keep a password on your Wi-Fi, right? That's the most important thing. I mean, that's the hot thing right now. Cybersecurity for
That's a major issue right now. You're in a popular business.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch
better
the news,
or worse,
you watch the news. I mean, you see these state attacks in North Korea and Iran, and this is how they raise money for their governments. I mean, they're attacking corporations, attacking grid lines. I mean, that's the future of war, right?
Well, and what I've been really fascinated with is the attacks on the city governments and stuff. I mean, even is it either Decatur,
Atlanta,
city of Decatur or Atlanta?
Yeah, ransomware.
The ransomware. I was watching the show, and I've been reading up a little bit about that. That's fascinating. I mean, that's a legitimate issue. I mean, that's pretty serious.
Then you get these countries, like Russia, and they have these, basically state-sponsored terrorism that's going on, and then it's one of those things where it's like, hey, all you need is a laptop, and
and what's so crazy about it is there's how easy it is to do, and then that there's not an answer. There's not an easy solution. I mean, there's no quick fix for something like that. So what is your thought on especially the future of this, and then for just like mom and pop homeowners and small business people like me, what is some of the steps that we should be doing to protect ourselves?
Well, I think the most important thing you can do is change your password. It's a simple but annoying process, but it's really one of the key things to do. Is
how frequently?
I would tell people change their passwords at least once a month. I mean, very, very frequently.
No kidding.
Make sure your Wi-Fi is protected. I mean, that's the gateway to your house, right? To your internet. So, and you would be surprised if you just logged onto your phone right now and opened up, the Wi-Fi and just see how many open Wi-Fis are in the area. A lot of people work from home, so they'll go to Starbucks and they'll jump on the Wi-Fi in Starbucks, and I'm just like, that is just not a good thing to do,
So, that would be one of the questions I have, because like I'll go to the library because they have really good fast Wi-Fi there. From a security standpoint, where are the safer places to use public access Wi-Fi, and what are some of the precautions that we should be taking for that?
Well, the library is a good place. I mean, you want to try to avoid like really open public places, right? Because I mean, you have people who go to these places
Like
just
Starbucks.
Yeah, just to target. I mean, I can go on Starbucks right now and I can get on anybody's computer. It's shocking. I mean, your computer's open, right? So I mean, I can go sit at Starbucks, do what I need to do, see who's on the Wi-Fi, and work my way through. And you have people who are really really good at this stuff that that go do this for a living. I mean, training exercises. Those are some of the training exercises. Like, hey, let's go to the mall, Georgia, and see who's on the Wi-Fi there, and see if we can get access to their computer, get access to them, to their life. I mean, everything is on your phone, on your computer, right? Your whole life. I mean, think about the things you store on there.
So is it just as accessible when you're jumping on that Wi-Fi with your phone?
It can be. It can be. Yeah, it can be. I
mean, because I know, like, for my phone, I just kind of keep it on that open Wi-Fi, so it'll just pick up a Wi-Fi when it's close by or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is there protections that you should be taking for that?
It's just very. Anytime you put yourself on a public Wi-Fi, you're exposing yourself, right? So I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where you just got to be.
So do you just not do it?
I try to.
Just don't do it.
Yeah, I try to avoid it as much as possible. Right. And I was like everyone else until you start taking some of these trainings, and you're like, wow, I didn't know.
You realize.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're working from home, you want to go get outside, go to Starbucks, and have a drink, and kind of work when it's a nice day outside, and you just realize like how bad that is, but.
Scary.
Yeah, the cost of doing business sometimes.
Yeah, right. Well, I think that you talked about, like, that's the state-sponsored stuff. I think that's going to be the evolution of warfare.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think that it's not going to be boots on the ground so much anymore as it's going to be cyber.
No, for sure. Really well, and that's how a lot of these countries are raising money. I mean, that's how North Korea makes its money, right? I mean,
is it?
Oh,
really?
yeah. I mean,
that's how they do it.
Yeah, it's terrorism. I mean, that's literally what it is.
The scary stuff now is the fact that they're going after these city governments because the city governments have to pay it. And the other thing they were going after, I saw too, is the hospitals.
Oh yeah.
That's really scary too when they can have, because you've got people where their lives are, where they have to pay in order to be able to
access information.
To take care of their patients, to be able to know what medication they're supposed to give their patients, things like that. So when it's like a life and death situation, you don't have any other choice. That's scary stuff.
Yeah, the thing that scares me the most is the energy stuff. I mean, you're starting to see where these
where they're going after the energy grids.
Yeah, or they're looking. They're trying to find a way to get in. I mean, and
looking for the weak spots.
And that's the stuff that brings cities to their knees. When you start going, or can endanger people.
Sure,
nuclear facilities, things like that.
It's scary stuff, man. So tell me about growing up. Is there any stories or experiences that you could share about your dad or somebody else, a parental figure in your life that made a lasting and meaningful impact on the person that you've become?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I mean, both my parents, my grandparents were huge influences in my life. But when it really comes to fitness, it would be my dad. I mean, we were talking earlier, and I was telling you about him, and super fit guy, never smoked, never drank, really took care of himself, took his fitness very seriously, ended up getting lung cancer. And, living in Houston where you have MD Anderson, you have some of the really top cancer research facilities there. I mean, they took a particular interest in him because of his physical stature, the type of shape that he was in, and why did this happen?
And to have somebody that fit and in such good shape and doing everything right, get something as crazy as lung cancer.
Right, and it was an aggressive cancer. I mean, it moved quickly, and
that's ultimately what.
Yeah, and that's actually what. Yeah, I mean, he lost that battle with cancer, but the thing with him, and I can see it now. I mean, sitting with the doctors, and the doctor told me, he said, Dante, he's telling me and my mom, he's like, if your dad wasn't as in good shape as he was, he bought himself 3 years of extra life. So I mean, so basically, he bought himself 3 years with you guys because he took care of himself and was in great shape. Because the doctor was like, he simply would have went really quickly if he wasn't in the shape he was in. So that's what I try to share with the class and tell people is like, and it's always a big speech of mine in class, like, hey, we're buying something money can't buy. Every day you come in here, and that's life.
Right.
I mean,
you're
putting a life coin in the life piggy bank. You know what I mean? When you come in, and if you consistently do it, you're just gonna feel better. And I was talking to a guy in one of my classes. He's a regular. He's in his 70s. You would never know it. He's in great shape. And he said, Dante, I'm aging in the inside. I might not look like it, but I'm aging in the inside. And it's true. And it's like, listen, when we're done with this, I could walk outside and get hit by a bus. Who knows?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Never know when your day's gonna come.
I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, but the life that I lived while I was here was fantastic. So yeah, you might live a long life, but do you want to be at the doctor's office? Do you want to be in the hospital your whole
Yeah,
time you're here?
what kind of quality of life you're
Correct.
having with that.
Correct. I
Yeah.
mean, and think about the people you see walking around. They're having a tough time breathing. They're just overweight. They feel terrible. They wake up, everything hurts. And it's like, okay, so you're going to live till 85, but is that a great quality of life?
Right.
Those are just things to think about. And I really try to tell people that it's like, it's not just about living a long life. Don't focus on like, I want to live till I'm 90. It's more like, I want to live a great quality life while I'm here. You know what I mean?
Well, and to me, that goes back to that lifestyle design. It's like you design a lifestyle that is your best, that it fulfills all your dreams. That's the kind of life that you want to live. That whether it be playing with your grandkids or or doing a triathlon, whatever the case may be, it's like you design a life that's how you want to live.
Right.
And when you do that, then once you figure that out, then you want that to last as long as you can. You want that to keep going, and then that's when the long lifespan stuff starts to matter.
And another thing too, listen, everyone doesn't like going to the gym. I mean, everyone doesn't like working out. It's not for everybody, those type of things. And so I try to find, what I try to share with people is find a way to motivate yourself to go to the gym, because I mean, the hardest part is actually walking through the doors and getting there. I mean, once you're there and you're going, you can usually make it through, you know what I mean? But just finding that motivation, okay, I'm going to get in the car, I'm going to drive to the gym, and I'm going to go. And people try to substitute that with like, okay, well, I'm going to go buy a Peloton because then I'll do it because I just have to walk down to the basement and ride a bike. Or I'm going to get a home gym because then I'll do it if I'm in the garage because you come up with every excuse in the book, right? Oh, it's the traffic. Oh, I'm tired when I get home, so I can't. But if it's here, I'll do it. And the real response to that is like, no, you won't. I mean, you'll do it for 30 days. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, and they buy a Peloton or they buy a
look on
stationary.
Craigslist.
Yeah,
They're
they buy a stationary bike, and
Yeah.
they do it for 60 days, and then it's like collecting dust.
Well, it's funny for me, when I first started my health and fitness journey, I started off doing like just P90X in the basement kind of thing. But once I joined the gym, that became that little window of driving to the gym and just kind of giving myself that chance to kind of wake up became a real pivotal thing for me. It became something that I relied on. So like once I wasn't going to a gym or I switched gyms, it was actually tough for me to get back into the groove of exercising again because I didn't have that automatic trigger of just get up, get in the car, start driving, and then by the time you get to the gym, you're awake and then you're ready to go kind of thing. So it was one of the things I kind of am missing right now for sure.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it becomes part of your routine,
yeah,
right?
it becomes that habit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it becomes part of your routine. And you feel better,
Yeah.
I've never been a big like morning workout person, but I tell you what, because I just feel weaker in the morning. But
Okay, so you are a night owl then.
yeah, I mean, well,
interesting.
so I wake up early because I wake up at 5 every morning. But I just always felt weaker when I worked out in the morning in the gym. But I tell you what, when I do it, because sometimes I just have to because
I do the scheduling. and
Oh
everything,
yeah, and when I do it, you just feel so much better throughout
Oh,
the
yeah.
day. I mean, and it's done. You don't have to worry about getting off from work. I mean, all the excuses, the built-in excuses, right,
Yeah.
not to go there, are gone because it's done.
Yeah,
You know what I
'cause it's
mean?
done. And that's how it is for me. Totally, I am totally the morning workout guy. And for me, it's just due to all the other obligations
Right.
in the afternoon.
Sure.
I've got the kid world kicks in, so I'm not exactly taking it easy afternoon. But yeah, that and like you said, that what it does is it kickstarts my day. It gets me that extra little bit of oomph I need to get going and to see through all that I got to get done in a day. So for me, it's vital. That I don't see how you guys do those afternoons. Like you teach that afternoon spin class on Thursday, man, and that's beyond me, man. I don't see how you guys do that.
It's part of the routine.
That's tough. Again, it's all about those routines and those habits that you get used to.
Sure.
So tell me about a miserable experience or a failure that you learned a lot from,
A miserable experience or a failure that I learned a lot from.
or a favorite failure. That's what I like to call them, because I got a lot of them.
That's life, right? I mean, that's life, right? So I remember I was probably 25 and I was training for a half Ironman, and you've done them. There's just a ton of preparation that goes into them, and
Lot of work.
so I was like, oh, I'm in good shape. I was young, and I was like, oh, I can just kind of halfway do this. You know what I mean? Like I don't really have to do the work, the preparation that goes into it, which is not really my style. I mean, I'm really an in-depth guy. I really like to just go through all the details of something. But
Yeah, but triathlon will test that limit by all means.
So that'll break you down,
Yeah.
right? So I kept getting injured. I kept having hamstring injuries. I was like, oh, well, I'll fight through this, and it's not a big deal. And once I get there, I get motivated, and So I went out there to do my first one, and I couldn't finish it. I just couldn't finish it. And I mean, and I was devastated, because I was like, I mean, that was like probably the first time I had really failed at anything in my life.
Well, because when you're that age too, like the ego is just sky high. Like you're like, man, I can walk through a brick wall, man.
And you just never get tired, right? And you heal quickly.
Yeah.
And I went into it injured, and I was like, I'll push myself through it. And it just, you're going through it, and you're like, man, like I have to stop. Like I just can't. I can't go any further. Like my body won't let me go any further, right? So that was a very, that was a hard experience, right?
It's humbling.
Yeah, very humbling.
That's great.
So then,
let me ask, if you don't mind me asking, how far into the race did you get? Where did it all break down for you?
So probably about like mile 10
on the bike.
Yeah. And you're just kind of looking at your legs, and you're like, what's going on? You're like, what's going on here? And you pull over, and you're like, you try to crank it up again, and it's like the check engine light's on. You can't make it, and I was like, man, I came all the way out here. Just got family out here supporting me. I'm like, man, this is like really bad.
I just get so tickled hearing you tell that story, because I don't know what it is about triathlon in particular, but it's one of those things where you can't cheat it. No. You can't shortchange that sport, man. The only way to survive and to finish is to put in the work.
You got to put in the work.
And I mean, otherwise you physically can't finish.
Right.
And that's just, I get so tickled by it, because it's such an ego checker, man. It's like, I had my dad on the most recent episode. He played football growing up. Mm-hmm. And so when he did his first triathlon, he got down the 3-point stance and was ready to charge it. And so they shaped the gun off, and he only made it through a few hundred yards of the swim, and he starts drowning. Right. He gets so overworked he couldn't breathe, and he's choking on the water, and he had to hang on to a buoy, and it was just a total nightmare. And then, of course, he goes on to get into it, and obviously he's had some successes just like you've had. But it's just so – I always love hearing those first experiences with that sport, because you just really don't know what you're getting into.
No, you don't. I mean –
So how do you get your information? You a big reader? You a big podcaster? I know you're a perpetual learner. That's one of the things that appealed to me about you. How are you getting your information?
When it comes to fitness?
In general.
Yeah,
everything.
So Twitter, podcasts, anything, the internet. I mean, the typical sources, but I love podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts unrelated to fitness is Pod Save the World.
I'm not familiar with
that
one.
That's a great one that I enjoy, and it's about politics and things like that. And
Pod Save the World?
Pod Save the World. So
I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, it's a good
cool.
one. And, I like crime stories, so there's various ones of that. But
there's some cool podcast kind of stories.
Yeah, but just in general, I mean, YouTube is just a great source of I was telling my wife the other day, I'm like, what else do you need in life? Do we need cable?
You really don't,
I mean, because I'm like, I just sit there and I watch YouTube videos.
What do you want to learn?
Yeah, I watch YouTube videos all day. And, I mean, when it comes to fitness and social media has some great stuff on there with fitness stuff. And, my goal is to keep it fresh, right? Because people get bored, right? Yeah. I mean, you listen – no one can hear the same voice every week for 5 years. I don't care if you're who you are.
Right. Sure.
I don't care if you're Larry O'Brien, if you're Larry Bird. I don't care who you are. I mean, after a while, the person is just going to get tuned out, right? So that's a constant challenge for me as an instructor. Is like, how do I make sure that the people who are coming to class are not like, okay, I'm, this is getting kind of old. Like I want to, because that's a favorite excuse of people when they want to do something different in fitness, right? It's like, oh, I got bored. Yeah. So I quit.
Any excuse to bail out.
I quit, or like, oh, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, and I try to explain to people. I'm like, listen, sometimes it's you. It's like this didn't work for me. I did that. This didn't work for me. So I did this, and it's like, well,
sometimes you got to buck up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you got to look in the mirror and say, maybe it's not like the 10 different types of things that you did. Maybe it's the person.
Well, let me ask you this. This is one of the things that I always found challenging when you talk about keeping it fresh. How do you go about the music selection? And this is just for my own personal thing, because I'm kind of dabbled in that world for half a minute. How do you go about the music selection and keeping new music?
So it's funny that you asked me that question, because when I first started teaching cycle, that was probably the most challenging thing, right? So now at this point in my cycle career, coming up with rides isn't difficult, right? The
Right,
hardest
because
part,
you know the different exercises, different heart rates you want to hit, some of that stuff.
and you're on a bike, right? So
Yeah.
there's only so many exercises you can do,
Right.
right? But so the most challenging part is the music, right? So when I first started teaching cycle, I wanted to please everybody. You know what I mean? So there's nothing more diverse than cycle class, right? So you got hip hop heads in there, you got country music fans, you got pop fans, you name it, they're in there, right?
Right.
So you go in there and you kind of look at the class, you're like, oh, you can just make a lot of assumptions. And listen, if you go through my Apple Music, it's country, it's rock. I mean, there's all kind of craziness on there, right? So, but that was a challenge, right? I mean, and that's where that was probably one of my biggest mistakes, was trying to please everyone. And then I just came to a realization, like, listen, I'm not going to make everyone happy with the music.
Never.
So I'll make them happy with the ride, and they won't pay attention to the music.
Oh, there you go.
You know what I mean? I'll make the ride
make
so
them
good.
sweat so hard and work so hard they don't have time to hear that music.
Yeah, but
they're begging for mercy.
Yeah, but the music is a big part of it. I mean, it really is.
Huge,
and people, I remember when I first got hired, the lady who hired me, she said, oh, the music's not that big a deal. And I was thinking in my head, oh, I don't know about that. And music's a big part of it. So, typically what I do is, I'll go through, and I used to have set playlists, right? So I didn't really have to think about it. And now I'll change it up. You know what I mean? So I have like 60 playlists, but I'll go through and mix and match and pick songs.
Really?
Yeah, while I'm in the middle of the ride. Because initially, when I first started teaching, I had to really focus on like the ride.
Right.
Like,
you want to make sure you're hitting all your markers.
Right.
And
now it's just
now you're so comfortable with it.
I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that you live in that world where you can kind of freestyle it a little bit. See, like for me, there's no way. Like obviously you've been doing it for so long, it's second nature for you. But like I was so nervous doing my first couple, like I wanted to make sure everything, like you said, hitting all the marks and everything was just perfectly in sync. I'm like, man, how are you going to do a new one of these every single week? It just seems so intimidating.
No, it is. And I mean, and that was like when I first started teaching cycle, like it was funny because I would have things timed down to like 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
That's exactly what I was thinking
about. And I was
about.
like, and then after a while, you're like, it's kind of like cooking, right? It's like I don't have to have exactly 1 teaspoon of salt in here.
Exactly.
I can just kind of freestyle it. Right.
Well, and what I learned too, real quick, was you screw up, man, and you miss a marker, and you have to kind of wing it. And then you have to kind of come back and reel it back in, and you kind of have to, think on your feet a little bit.
Sure.
So. It all ends up working out. But like you said, the way that you do it, you're so comfortable with it, it definitely brings a good feel and a good flow, and I think that's what makes everybody enjoy it so much. And Lord knows they do, because your class, I mean, good grief, it's like standing room only. If you don't show up 15 minutes early, like you can't even get a bike. So I mean, I know it's Saturday, but still, it's funny to me to see your class compared to the class that follows yours.
Right.
That other guy's a great guy, but I don't know how much of an extensive cycling background he has. And it's kind of night and day, man. It's a different experience.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'll tell you one thing for anyone out there who's aspiring to be a cycle instructor or wants to get into fitness. When you go to a big fitness club, it can give you a false sense of security, because people will come to your class just because
it's there.
It's there. So they'll walk in and like, oh, I'll go try this, or they'll be lifting weights and they'll see a bunch of people in there and they're like, oh, I'll go hide in the back, and your class will fill up, but you won't really know how good of a cycle instructor you are until you start going to a studio, where people who really know cycle, who are really serious about cycle, and then they're just like, yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
Those road warriors,
right? So
doing it.
So Dynamic Cycle is a studio that's owned by a friend of mine, and she's in Lawrenceville, right by Discovery Mills Mall,
nice.
Duluth area, and she taught for years at Lifetime and decided to go on her own. And actually, someone who used to come to my class had told her about me. It's like, hey, you got to get this guy; he's really good. So she called me one day and said, hey, do you mind coming by and just I want to interview you and talk to you, if you mind helping me out. I'm just starting. I said, sure. So I went by there, and she was just getting started, and that's a tough business, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I said, listen,
Brutal.
I'm not going to charge you. I'll just come and teach,
awesome.
whenever I can and help you out. And
very cool.
But it was great for me because that was my first experience outside of LA Fitness.
Yeah.
So in a real studio, and people who really knew cycle. So, and I've taught at some other studios in Atlanta and the city, and that's a whole different dynamic.
Ups your game too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you're kind of center. It's more focused, right? It's center stage. You got people there who come to cycle and they know cycle.
Well, and they are cyclists.
Correct.
Like with the people that you get at LA Fitness spin class are very fit individuals,
right?
But they're not necessarily cyclists,
right? And there's a difference.
There's definitely a big difference.
And there's a difference.
Sure.
And I tell you, there's nothing more rewarding than when a cyclist comes up to you and say, "Hey, your class was challenging." You know what I mean?
for
Or that was
sure.
tough. You know, or like, man, that was harder than being outside.
Yeah.
And so, that makes you feel good when you hear that. Because I tell anyone, I can get you tired. I mean, we can get on a bike and we can just ride, and you'll
get your heart rate up quick.
Right.
So that's cool. Yeah, to have that compliment from an actual road warrior is pretty cool for sure. So what you got on the horizon? What are the future plans for you?
I turned 40 next year, actually, so I want to try to do another half Ironman. That's kind of like a goal.
So you never went back after?
No, I did. I did. I went back and conquered that demon. Good. A couple times actually. So,
nice.
But I haven't done one in years. So
I'm taking a little bit of time off myself.
Yeah. So
time to get back on that horse.
Yeah. So I want to.
You have a race in mind? Which one you want to do?
No, I got to start looking. You
got to check out St. George. It's beautiful.
Is it?
Yeah,
it might be worth
beautiful.
Yeah.
That southern Utah country is just crazy.
I tell you what, just thinking about the training just like makes my head hurt right now. Well, one thing, you got to get your weight down. I'm a slim guy already, but you got to
start your part-time job of living on a bicycle.
You got to get your weight down, and I mean,
dial in that. Well, your nutrition probably stays pretty dialed in, but I definitely have to get that pretty well dialed in.
Sure.
Once you get on that road.
We were in San Francisco on vacation visiting my sister, and they have the Alcatraz.
So,
and I was like, man, this would be really cool to do,
but that water, man, that water is cold.
So cold.
And you got to jump off a ferry boat, into the thing and just hit the ground running.
I know.
Man.
And then you look at Alcatraz, and then you look to, where the coast is there, and you're like, man, this doesn't seem that far. And then you get in that water.
In that freezing cold water,
it's
man.
It probably looks like it's 50 miles away,
An eternity.
Yeah, but that'd be something very cool to do, to check out. It's just a personal thing,
bucket
to
list
be able to say,
thing.
hey, I did that.
That's funny because that's one of the questions I have is what's a bucket list item? So you just knocked that one out.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we talked about some podcasts you're into and stuff. Do you do any books? Any books that you're reading right now? Audio books?
I do. I enjoy audiobooks, especially when I'm in traffic. I'm trying to think what's the last.
Let me ask you, while you're thinking about which one you've done last, what's your ratio of consumption of audiobooks to traditional reading?
Mostly all audio.
So is it like 100 to 1, 10 to 1?
Well, yeah, 100 to 1. Because you know what? I read so much at work that by the time I get off
you're cross-eyed. You don't want to look at anything.
So audiobooks is like the greatest invention ever for me because
wonderful?
Just to be able to listen, and because eyes are just fried by the time you get and it's really terrible because there's nothing better than reading a book and finishing a book, but audiobooks have just been a savior for me. And I was thinking just now, the last audiobook that I listened to was actually The Art of War.
Nice. That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, you got to kind of like sort through some of the stuff, and you're trying to figure
it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
Some of those Chinese proverbs. What's the book that you've given away the most?
Book that I have given away,
if you have one.
A book that I've loaned out a lot is called King of the World, and it's a book about Muhammad Ali.
Nice. I was gonna say I'm not familiar with that. Is it a biography?
Yep. And it's called King of the World. So when I teach cycle, I try to equate it a lot to boxing, right? So I used to be a huge boxing fan and did some of that, and it really is a mental and physical challenge, right? I mean,
absolutely.
and the
lot of mental,
the stamina and getting up, and when you get knocked down, get up, don't give up, because you see it in cycle a lot. People just give up. It's just like they're just defeated. Mm-hmm. And I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, don't be defeated. Stay in the fight. That's like one of my favorite terms in cycles. Like, just stay in the fight. If you got to go down a gear, just get off the ropes.
I remember hearing you say that. Just take it a gear down. Just hang in there. Just keep pedaling.
Just keep pedaling. Stay in the fight, because once you give up, your body's going to say, wait a minute, something's wrong. I can't go anymore. You know what I mean? So I just try to keep people active, and I try to equate a lot of things to boxing because they really do relate, and they intersect. It's all mental, it really is. I mean, especially any kind of fitness thing, any kind of challenges, it's your mind telling your body, I can't do this anymore. So you have to really train your mind more than your body to be like, push yourself, really push yourself. Your body, and I tell people all the time, there's a difference between being in pain and being uncomfortable. You should always be uncomfortable. You should never be in pain. So those are just things that
it's like the difference between an injury and just sore.
Correct.
There's a distinct difference between the two. You being in the fitness world, I'm sure you hear so much advice. I'm not so much like towards you, but you hear other people getting it. What's the worst advice that you hear given in the fitness world?
Everybody's an expert, right? I mean,
everybody's a genius when it comes to this stuff, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily advice. What I really I really makes me uncomfortable when I see people who are very overweight and trainers have them lifting weights, or they put them in positions of failure,
Right.
or it's like where they won't succeed. And it's like you got to have milestones. You really do. I mean, it's very important to start crawl, walk, run. It's very important, and you have to be very careful because you have people in the industry that are out to make money. It's like this product on TV, this lose weight, this quick weight loss, and there is really no shortcut to getting the physical presence that you want, except for hard work, dieting, hard work. And I tell everyone, a question is always posed to me. I can't tell you countless times after class. It's like, Dante, I exercise every day, but I'm not losing the weight. And my first response to that person is, what are you eating? Because diet is majority of this.
It's like 90%.
It's 90%. And I tell people, I say, hey, you see
it's
these.
my fatal flaw.
You're in great shape. But I tell people, you see these Instagram models, and I'm like, they're just eating right. I mean, they're not working out 10 hours a day.
Or starving themselves.
Right. Right. But I mean, if you see really fit people, like these really fitness models, things like that, like they are counting macros. They are really eating, controlling their eating habits. And, the workout part is really secondary. You know what I mean? That's for definition. But abs are made in the kitchen. Everyone,
that's a great point, man.
Everyone wants abs, and it's like, well, you're not going to get abs.
Made in the kitchen. or in the McDonald's line, right?
Those aren't the kind of abs you're going to want.
Right? That's great. All right, so here's a question I've been asking people lately. I'm real curious for you. What's your favorite item under $100 that you couldn't live without?
Favorite
gadget,
item.
Tool, whatever, just something that's not too terribly expensive, that it's like your go-to, something that you never leave home without, whether it be for travel or exercise. It could be for anything.
Gadget under $100 that I can't live without. Man, is there anything that's under $100 these days?
I know, right? Well, that's what makes it so challenging. It's like, for me, it's like my generic response is Body Glide. It's like that personal lubricant, like I never leave home without it. For one guy, it was like a little coffee press thing. He can press his little espressos or whatever, it cost him just under $100 or something like that.
Mine's would be,
one guy was a battery pack for his phone.
Cell phone charger. Yeah, that's
cell phone charger type of thing.
I have what is the? It's like a cool keeps stuff warm, and a Yeti.
A Yeti.
Yeah, that's probably because I drink green tea.
Okay.
Every day.
In the morning.
Yeah, because I don't drink caffeine. So I drink
caffeine at all.
Yeah, I don't drink caffeine. So I drink. That's kind of green tea is my coffee, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So every day I have it. That's like, and if I don't have it, I'm like, oh, I forgot it. So I have to walk down to Caribou and get a hot water or something. So I put it in my tea bag in there.
Yeah,
that would be it.
Do you have a particular green tea that you like, that you are a fan of?
So I like the white green tea.
I've been really interested in getting more into that.
Yeah,
and
it's good
to
stuff.
Get away from caffeine altogether.
Yeah, what turned me off the caffeine growing up is like my mom was like a chronic coffee drinker, so you couldn't even talk to her until she had a cup of coffee in the morning. She's like, "Don't even talk to me until I get a cup of coffee." And I was like, I never want to be that way when I grow up. So she drank 2-3 cups of coffee a day, and when you come down off of that, it just kills your energy. You know what I mean? So then you got to drink another cup to get to go back up.
Crash.
And, I don't do well with crashes.
That's good, man. Well, the fact that you're not taking in caffeine, and I mean, last time I talked to you, you were doing the no sugar thing.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, you're just all over it.
Yeah,
dude. That's some discipline.
It's many goals, right? It doesn't last. Like the no sugar thing is, that's one of the most difficult things, because sugar's in everything.
It's everywhere.
It's in ketchup. I mean, unless you're growing a garden and like, raising your own, livestock,
right.
I mean, literally.
You can't get away from it.
No, and I have a super busy schedule, and it's just, it's hard. When you're traveling, it's hard to eat. So you do the best you can, but sometimes it's fun to be like, hey, for a month, I'm going to try to like really not eat any sugar.
That was the last, like I said, the last challenge that you kind of ushered out to the group was a really neat one. Was that no sugar challenge? Was it for 30 days or was it for 90 days?
Yeah, I think we did 30 days.
I think it was 30 days.
Yeah,
okay, that was really cool.
So that's the thing too, like with the class, like on my class, that I try to do to separate from some of the other classes, because you want to separate yourself from other instructors, right? And I have an email that I send out. We have an email group with the class, and I just send out information mostly pertaining to cycle, articles that I see that will help you.
But you have some cool health and nutrition stuff in general in there too. Like I always looked forward to those because there was always some kind of helpful eating thing usually. Seemed like. Yeah.
There's stuff like that, and just setting challenges like, hey, and I'll tell the class, I'll do it with you. What I hate the most, or what just really is one of my pet peeves, is like you go into a class and the instructor's barking out orders and they're not doing anything.
Right.
And I understand like boot camp, you got to kind of watch people. Different classes, you're more watching people to make sure they're doing it properly.
Sure.
But with cycle, there's no excuses.
Right.
So there's nothing that irks me the most is when I see a cycle instructor walking around yelling the whole time, and they're overweight, they're totally out of shape, and the only reason they're not on the bike is, or they ride for like 10 minutes and get off because they're so out of shape that they can't do it. It's like, and I look at that person like, how are you going to tell me what to do?
One or two people I know.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, it's true. Well, and that goes back to that whole leading by example, and you talk the talk and walk the walk kind of thing. And again, that's one of the big appeals, I think, for your class in particular, is the fact that you're not even just with the spin class, but you're leading a lifestyle that, by example, that I think inspires a lot of them to want to kind of do the same. And to want to improve just a little bit. The thing I like best about what you share, I think, is the whole, like, we go back to that nutrition thing. You seem to really push that and promote that as an agenda more so than probably any other fitness instructor that I know of. And I think that's so important because, like we were saying, that makes such a big difference. That makes more of a difference than going to that gym. I mean, going to the gym is so important, and getting your heart rate up is great. But what we're putting into our body is so much more impactful.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel bad because when people come and they just cycle, and they're not getting any results, and then they just get frustrated and then they want to leave, right?
Right.
And it's like, so I really try to push the nutrition so you can see even a little bit of results, because you can come cycle and burn 600 calories in a class, but if you go and order, Chick-fil-A, if you eat
or even
out,
just one Starbucks, you
gone.
Just got all that back.
It's gone.
One Starbucks will do it.
It is literally gone, and people don't understand that. They don't understand their food intake, and that's something that I encourage everyone to really research, really understand what you're putting in your body, really understand how many calories you're ingesting, because that is just a huge part. You are literally wasting your time working out if you're going to eat it all back.
Right.
I mean,
what would you think is a good first step for people that are just listening to this? They're maybe kind of just starting down this journey. What's a good way for them to kind of get started on a more nutritional eating path?
The main thing is, really cut out the fast food. That's a good starting place. Listen, that's our society, right? Everyone's busy. It's really quick. What can I eat quick? Sure. If you travel a lot, it's really, really difficult. But if you can cut out fast food, really take the time to not go to Chick-fil-A for lunch every day. Pick one day and go.
Yeah.
Try to take the time to meal prep, first of the week. Okay, I'm going to bring my lunch every day. I'm going to try to drink water instead of drinking soda.
That meal prep, I think, has been a real key for me. Because, like you said, so much of it is about convenience and about being able to just grab it and go. And even when you're at home, and we're fortunate to be able to work from home quite a bit where I am, when you have that meal prep done, it makes it so much more likely.
Right.
That you're going to just grab that salad or whatever. And I've really found it working well with the salad. I can do 90% of prep work on a salad on Sunday and have that carry me through to the week. And just add just a little extra little tidbits that you need to, and then boom, you're ready to rock and roll within a few minutes.
Well, and the quality of food is just so much better. And everyone gets bored. You're sitting there thinking at lunch, okay, what am I going to eat today? And it's like it takes the thinking out of it. You get more energy, you're more efficient. You can spend more time. You can eat quick. You don't have to waste time going in the drive-thru. It's like, hey, I can eat at my desk. I can continue to work. Whatever works for you. But the main goal is not eating the bad quality food that comes with fast food.
And what I noticed too is once you cut that stuff out, then you can actually get to a point where that fast food doesn't taste as good anymore. Like once you've cut it out for a long enough time, it loses its appeal.
Oh, it does.
And you actually, like what I found is I actually found myself craving greens, green things.
Right.
And what a great place to be when you can just, like you say, 90 days, just develop that habit and just do the hard work. And then once you've put in that 90 days, then it starts to become natural. It starts to feel right. And then you can develop that lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think the most important thing while we're on that subject of food, make sure you eat. I hear somebody, I'm not eating on Thursday, or I skipped it. It's not about skipping meals. It's just about eating smaller portions and eating properly. It's not about starving yourself. That's not healthy.
What's your take on some of this intermittent fasting that has become so popular now?
Yeah, you talk to people and it seems to work for them, and they're doing intermittent fasting. There's so many diets out there, keto and intermittent fasting, and if it works for you, it works for you. I never tell anyone, don't do this, don't do that. My main thing is just make sure you're ingesting enough food, you're not starving yourself, you're not mistreating your body. You need to eat.
Well, and what I found too when I was really ramping up training for triathlon, the consistent calorie intake throughout the course of the day really seemed to work well for me. I almost felt like I needed to have just a consistent, constant stream of calories throughout the course of the day, just a little bit. Like, so I was constantly just not snacking on junk food, but little small meals just throughout the whole day. Like, I would nurse a salad for an hour or two, you know, and then nurse the next meal for, you know, and just little bits here. And that consistency seemed to be what worked best for me. That how this whole intermittent fasting and not eating all the way up until a certain time of day, that just seems to me long term, it seems really hard to be sustainable.
No, it's true, and you know, I'll tell people. I had a guy at work last week. He's like, hey, you know, what are you eating? You know, how do you, I want to lose some weight, and he said, I'm just starving all day long. And I said, you know, I was telling him, like, hey, in the morning, cut up some apples, put some peanut butter, and bring that. It's not about not eating because you're going to be hungry, right? So it's like, but take some granola, keep it at your desk, like, you know, going through the day, snack on.
Yeah,
it's okay to
snack on those healthy snacks.
Snack on good stuff.
I think it's critical, to be honest with you. I think that's really important because it's when you get into that starvation state, that's when you break down and eat some of the less healthier things, it feels like to me.
It's true.
So you're more likely to go grab McDonald's when you're starving to death. You got to have something.
Right. Or a Snickers bar.
Or Snickers. Yeah, just something you can grab quick on the go kind of thing. Who's somebody that you think would be cool for this podcast? If you could, or if you had your own podcast, who's somebody that you would interview?
Who's someone that I would interview? Man, there's so many. Famous or non-famous?
Preferably not famous, because my kind of tagline is ordinary people living extraordinary lives. So my whole thing is I want to identify people. You can be successful. Sure. I think successful people are great for the show.
Sure.
But I want successful people that have done it the right way. I know a lot of rich people that are miserable. Right. But I want successful people that, you know, that have done it the right way and with the right kind of lifestyle. You know, like your dad.
Yeah. I mean, you know, if we're staying on the fitness lane here, I mean, if you could get a boxer, like someone who's actually been professional, you know, and I'm not saying like a world champion, but, you know,
but somebody who's been down that path.
Been ranked. Because if you look at those guys' workout, like sometimes I'll go and I'll look at Mike Tyson's workout when he was in his 20s, you know, when he was heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
It's incredible, man. I mean, it is like the shape that those. I tell you what, do this one day when you get bored, get a stopwatch and just do 3 minutes and we'll just dance around and shadow box for 3 minutes.
Or just try to jab for 3 minutes.
And you will be
your arms are falling.
You will be
off.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, the shape that those guys, it's second to none, literally.
They are.
So it would be cool. It would
shape.
be cool to talk to one of those guys about the lifestyle when they were boxing. You know, what their road work, what their routine was. You know, because a lot of these guys wake up at like 4 a.m. They'll go run 15 miles. You know, then
before they even get
started. Go eat breakfast and do 500 sit-ups. I mean, it's insane. And to me, it's more of the mentality they had.
The mental fortitude.
The fight. You know, what happens when you were challenged? You know, what happens when you got knocked down? What happens when you fought someone that you, in your mind, that you were scared of? Or, you know,
that you didn't think you
could beat. I mean, I think that would be really cool.
Because those are life and death situations. Right. Like that's I have a lot of admiration, respect for those guys and the MMA guys both.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on a different level
of
fitness. That's just because you have to be, because you're putting your life out there. I mean, you're sticking your neck out when you go into those rings, man. And it's nothing but you and space, you and air, air and opportunity.
and on the business side, I mean, it would be I would love to interview someone that developed like an app, like a successful small business they ended up selling. You know, because I think everybody sits there and says, "Oh man, I wish I would have thought of that." You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, I could have thought of that.
So many of those. That's $1 million idea right there.
Right. So it's like, how did you actually? Because anytime you make a decision to do something, right, you're going to be challenged. Someone's going to say, oh, that's dumb. Or why are you doing that? Or, you know, nobody else is doing that. So what made you come to that realization, like, I can do this. I'm not going to listen to anyone telling me I can't do it. You know, how did you overcome all the blocks to finally get to a point where it became successful, you know, and led you to where you were? I think that would be
That's so many of the same questions I'm constantly going through my mind all the time. That's great. That's so cool. Great minds think alike. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, we'll roll with that.
I'll go with that. So what's one habit, besides the nutrition, because that's certainly an anomaly for most of us really struggle, and I think that's one area where you do really well. But aside from the nutrition, what's one habit or quirk about you that's different than most people that has contributed to your success?
I think for me, it's just being disciplined. If I have a goal in mind, I really sit down and I'm like, okay, how am I going to achieve that? And it just drives my wife crazy, right? Because I'm just like, I'm the type of person that I'm like, okay, let's say you came to me and say, hey, Dante, I need this done. Can you do this for me? I got to do it right away. And that drives her crazy, right? Because she's like, you got time to do that? I don't procrastinate, right? I like to get things done because
that's that kind of military mentality.
Yeah, and it'll just always be on my mind, like, oh man, like I got to get this done. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just like, this is what drives her crazy the most is like texting, because like somebody will text me and I'll text them right back, and she's like, you can wait and do that. And I'm like, but in my mind, it's like I need to do it now, or I'll forget, or I'll get distracted.
I'm the same way. You got to.
So and like I just try to. It's not the best. It's not the best way to live. I mean, everybody has something that works for them, but for me, it's really helped me to achieve goals. Like, hey, listen, I'm not going to let anything stop me. These are the steps I have to take to get to where I need to be.
Yeah, so you got a goal and a mission that you got to get done, and let's go do it.
Right.
One of the guys I interviewed a couple of weeks ago, his name is Scott Bennett. He's this old school guy, and he does. He's really into the mud runs and the Spartans and all that, and he'll do 2 or 3 in a weekend.
Wow.
And the dude's like 65.
Wow.
But he's the same way. He can't sleep at night if he knows that there's things that need to be done.
Right.
And like he just wants to hit the ground running. He wants to get up. He grew up on a farm.
Right.
He's farm raised, and it's like when the cows got to get fed, man.
Right.
So let's go get it. Let's get them fed. Let's knock it out. It's the same kind of mentality. But that does serve you well when it comes to business and getting things done in life. I mean, that kind of a mentality certainly serves you well. But I can at the same time see how it could drive your wife crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely not the best way to live. I mean, all the time. I mean, you got to kind of find that sweet spot for you.
Yeah,
you
got to have some moderation in there occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, and that's with everything.
For sure. What does an ideal day look like for Dante 10 years from now? An ideal every day. Where you at? What are you doing?
I'll be 50, right? 10 years from now. So I hope to still be waking up at 5 in the morning, still be going to work, getting off, going to the gym, probably have some kid activities,
obligations in that arena.
Yeah, in that arena. And I enjoy traveling, a lot of international travel. So I hope to have one of my goals in life is to visit all 7 continents. So I've got 5 of the 7.
I was gonna say, and you've knocked out most of those already.
Yeah, I have Antarctica and Australia left. So
that's all you got left.
Yeah, so
wow.
I guess when I go to Antarctica, I'll just go and get off the plane, dip my touch the ground and get back on.
All right, no, I'm good. Well, it's so funny. You're my second guest in consecutive weeks that's been a bucket list item for them is to go to Antarctica. Yeah, my other buddy goes to Africa. He does wildlife protection down there.
Oh, cool.
And when I asked him his bucket list item what to do was to go to Antarctica.
That's awesome.
To see all that.
Yeah.
See the ice shelf and all that stuff. Well, it's still there. He's worried it may not. How much of it's still going to be there?
Yes, I don't really see a lot of deviation.
Keeping doing what you're doing.
I'm very much a creature of habit, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
we all are.
I'm very much a creature of habit.
And when you have good habits, that's a really awesome thing.
That's true.
And you've got some really good habits.
I got some good ones. I got some bad ones, but I'll try to keep the good ones.
So out of curiosity, because I only see all the good and I see all the positive. So in Dante's mind, what's one of Dante's bad habits?
Yeah, you'll have to ask my wife about that.
She's not here, so you're going to have to speak for her. What's an area where because obviously, we all see the instructor that's bulletproof and, that has the facade of that can walk on water, all those kind of things. So what's an area where you struggle? Where do you find difficulty?
Saying no.
Saying no.
Saying no. That's probably an area that I have really tried to improve in my life is I'll run myself into the ground just committing and agreeing to doing things that, I probably really shouldn't be or I just don't have the time to do. And I hate to disappoint friends, and my loyalty to my friends and family isn't always a good thing. That has hurt me, and it's just something that's just me, so I can never really
but
give
that's not the worst character flaw in the world to have. You could do worse. I mean, certainly. Hey, we all got drama in our families. That's part of that's part of it all for sure. One of the things I always like to do before we wrap up is I always want to give all my guests an opportunity to talk about causes and plug businesses, anything like that they have going on. And you have a really cool cause that you're involved with. So I do want to take a couple minutes to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm a board member for the Partnership Against Domestic Violence, and it's the biggest nonprofit here in Georgia. It's a topic near and dear to my heart. It's something that's very important to me. And I was a volunteer for several years with their organization, and then they asked me to join as a board member. And we have all kind of great events. We have a Hearts with Hope gala that occurs once a year in May. We raised over $700,000 last year there at the gala.
And for people who want to know more about that, support that cause, how can they find out?
Yeah,
more?
so they have a website there, padv.org. Yeah, PAD, D is in Delta. So padv.org.
DV is in Victor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
And
so
I'll put a link to that on the site.
Yeah, so it's just a fantastic organization made of good people that are really trying to make a difference. And, if you know someone who's experienced domestic violence or, it's a silent killer, and chances are you do know someone and you just don't know it. But if you do know someone experiencing domestic violence, there is help out there. Make them aware, and we're coming up on a Domestic Violence Awareness Month here pretty soon. So
when is that? It's in October?
Yeah, so that's coming up pretty soon. Just keep that in mind. There's a lot of
absolutely.
people who need help out there, and they don't know how to get it, or they're shamed, and it's been a very taboo subject for years. And they've done a really good job of opening up those doors. And they run a great program. They have some shelters in Gwinnett and one in Fulton, and they're beautiful facilities, and they're places that you can kind of go and get on your feet. And
yeah, we actually did some landscaping and stuff for this one over here in Beaufort.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's
Dude, I mean, that facility is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's all, and it's gated and everything, of course, for safety and everything. But it's a beautiful little. It's almost like a little community.
Oh, it is.
It's really
No,
cool.
it is. And they have all kind of financial advisors. They have arts for the kids. I mean, all kind of programs to help you get on your feet, get a job, get an apartment, get you to
The whole nine.
get you away from your abuser. You know, so there's help out there.
That's really cool. What a good cause and
yeah.
something to be involved with.
Yeah.
And for folks that want to know more about you or follow you, are you on any of the social media world out there? Are you willing to put any of that out there for the world?
I don't have any social media,
Okay,
but
good for you.
yeah,
Good for you.
but please come see me at LA Fitness. I teach on Thursdays at 5:30.
Yeah, the Beaufort LA Fitness up there by Mall of Georgia. Come check them out, man. If you want to get a good workout in, man, Saturday morning, and that's the place to be. But come early. You better be at the door when they kick it open, man, because if not, you will not be able to get a spot.
Yeah, Saturday at 8:15, Thursday at 5:30. I'd love to see you there.
Yeah, that's great, man. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up.
I'm just very glad to be here. I'm glad you had me, and I really
appreciate
it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Appreciate you coming on, and most of all, like, inspiring. I mean, that's the whole point of this show or doing this podcast. Long term is I want to learn how to be an influencer.
Sure.
And how to influence people for good and to get them going down a course of a lifestyle that they design and that they're living their best lives. And that was the main reason why I wanted to get you on this show, was because you are a great example, first and foremost. And I think that's what it takes to ultimately inspire people to change. But then above and beyond being a good example, what you're doing in that class and the tone and the disposition and the added value that you give to that class. I mean, that's one of the biggest things that I try to do with everything I do, is give a little bit something more than what they expect. And that's exactly what you do with your class, and that's exactly what you do with those emails. And it's an inspiration, man, and you're doing a lot of good for a lot of people. And I see a lot of people getting inspired by that, and a lot of people changing their lives up there. And man, that's a beautiful thing to be able to say you've took part in that. So thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for taking the time.
I appreciate those kind words, and thank you very much for allowing me to come and be your guest today.
We'll see you out there on the next one, man.
All right, see you.
All right, be good.
All right.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. So what'd you think? What did I miss? Anything that you wanted to hear that I didn't cover? What do you want to know more about? Who would you like to see on the show? Hit us up on social media and tell me what you think. Check us out on iTunes, and please leave a review. We're now on Patreon, and your support there helps let us know we're headed in the right direction. We have a lot of exciting new things coming, fascinating guests, and some of the craziest stories you won't believe. So stay in the loop and check out more great content by subscribing at our website, 8keystoGreat.com. Special thanks to my guests and all those of you living an extraordinary life. This is Nate G. We'll see you next week.